Hi, I'm Juanita from Nearby Artisans, and I did a previous video using the sketch panel with the line effects to get some different paths for you to use for text and for designs. And today I'm going to show you how to get this really nice swirl design, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to get that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to a new screen, and I'm going to get what looks like a sun. Now I wouldn't actually use this one because it looks more like a saw blades than a sun, but I'm going to go ahead and use it for this to show you how easy this is. So I'm going to go ahead and get just a few rays out there at the edge, and I'm going to just make them that big because this part isn't important for right now. Just getting that swirl is. I'm going to convert this to path. And now I'm going to go over, I'm going to make this kind of small, and you'll see why. And I'm going to get this pattern right here. This is the swirl. And I got to that, I got this by going to the sketch panel. Now the sketch panel for you, based on the version that you have of Silhouette Studio, might be where mine is. It might be by itself on the side. It might be up along here, or you can get it through panels. I'm going to use this way, and now once I'm in the sketch panel, I'm going to go to this one right here, this swirl. Now getting that swirl, these things here and these line effects, they're actually made to fill in a design or text with markers or gel pens or whatever. So if you wanted to fill in, say, this shape, you would put your pen in and it would go around and around and filling in this. And if you can see here the spacing, I would have spacing based on how much of a fill I wanted to almost complete. You see as I slide this back and forth how much tighter those patterns get. I use this to create some paths for text and for designs. So I want to get this with as wide of the lines as I can. And if you look here, what you can see is as I'm pulling this in, I'm getting more and more lines. They're getting tighter and tighter with less space in between the lines. And then when I pull it out, it's getting wider. Since I'm going to use this for text, I want a pretty wide space in between there. These lines will not be there at the end, so the lines don't matter. They'll be gone. But because I'm going to create a path, I want to create a path that I can see and that I can put my text here and have room for it. So another thing about the line effects is that if you watch that inside of there, once I've got it on the one I want, this wider one, as I pull this in and out, when I pull it out, it gets larger by creating more lines. Did you watch as I go in and back out? I'm getting more lines. It's not getting tighter, it's just giving me more of them. Now if I want to limit the amount of lines that I have and make my the width wider in between them, I can release the effects, pull this out, and as you can see, I'm not getting more lines. It's just getting wider in between, even wider than it was with the widest setting. So I'm going to make that pretty wide because I can get my text on here and then I can adjust it to the size that I want afterwards. So I'm going to make it pretty wide. And another thing about the text is, say I'm doing a continuous line. I'm not going to do a continuous line, but if I were, I would take, so that I don't accidentally get past one of these, I would find out how far does this go? So right here, it's still going around, and it would still be going around right here. So right here is where the break would be. So I would take my knife and I would make a little cut right there so that my text would not go past that. And so that I would know that's as far as I can go. If you do go past that, what will happen is, and you might want this too, is that the text would go on here, and then here, clear out to the end, to the very last one that there is. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it the way it is because the way I'm going to do it, I'm not going to run into that problem. But again, if I were doing just one huge continuous line, I would want to make a little cut unless you wanted it to go out. So I am going to do mine in small sections because I also want my text in the center to be smaller and I want it to get larger as it goes out. Remember, these lines aren't going to be there. So anything I do to the text or to the design will be, it'll be free floating. It's not going to be attached to a line. So I'm going to create, since this is a sun, I'm going to just type in the little saying, you are my sunshine. So I'm going to say, you, comma, and now I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it fairly small. Again, I'm going to have tighter text in the center, and as it goes out, it'll get larger. And again, those lines won't be there. So now I'm going to put this up here or over here where I can have it closer to the star, because I'm going to make this, or the sun, I'm going to make this pretty large so I can kind of control what I'm doing there in the center. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the size of my text. What size is my text? That's about 1/4 of an inch. And I could go down smaller, but I'm going to see how that looks up there before I decide that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there, and I'm going to get my text on the thing, and I'm going to pull it out, and I don't like how the U is. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it out, and I'm going to make it smaller. And again, I can make this larger as I go along. Once I'm done, I can make the whole thing larger. So now I'm going to get my text, I'm going to put it back up there. I'm going to use this adjuster, and if you're doing this video, you should be familiar with all of this, and you should have watched my previous videos or other people's videos on learning this, learning Silhouette Studio from the beginning. Now let me see how I like that. I like that. I have the U. It's not at the very tip, but I can read it as it's going around. I'm not going to have a jumbly little mess in here. I might bring it in a tiny bit tighter and just see what happens. Oops. Okay. I might bring it in just a tiny bit tighter and see. Okay, I can see that, and it's kind of on the innermost, so you are. Okay, so I can see that. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to type the second section. And I want to grab my eyedropper here and get the size of that one. Because I still want to make it this size till it at least wraps around twice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this right next to this one. And I'm going to pull it out so that it matches where that one is. It looks like this one is right, touches right there on that line. So I want to make sure I have a spacing here. That looks pretty good. I have a nice space. And now I'll do the next one. And again, I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to get the eyedropper. I'm going to use the eyedropper, and now I will make this just slightly larger. I'm going to get it right up here, and it might look like right there, it looks like it's not going to fit, but when you pull this little thing here out, then it lines up, and there. And now I can say that it's right underneath of this line, right through the middle, but whatever I do, I want to be consistent. So now it's, and I can slide it out if I want it out more, slide it in. I think I want it like right there. Okay. And And now I'm going to again take the eyedropper. We're going to get that text. I'm going to make it slightly larger. And again, remember, those lines will not be there. Let's still put it on that one. We're going to pull it out until it lines up. Pull it in a little bit. And again, since this is going to be a little bit larger, it's just such a little amount, but you would see from the center one to the outer one a difference. But I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my next line. And now for this one, I want to make sure that I pull this out. I want it to make sure that it's on one line that I'm dealing with here. Okay, so now I'm going to get my eyedropper. I'm going to get the last one that I had. I want to make sure I pull this all the way in, only so that I don't end up with some crazy spacing out there at the end of this. And I'm going to get rid of this line effects window so I can see this. And now I'm going to pull this up to here, pull it up to that line, and at some point if I see that it's not lining up right, then I can put it on the next line. I'm going to line it up right. Kind of centering that one because I can see that it goes from the line there to then kind of centering because it's getting larger. Okay, I like that. Now I'm going to grab that last one. I'm going to make sure, yeah, this is at the end, and now I'm going to make this just the tiniest bit larger. And I'm only showing you a little bit so that nothing goes wrong here because you don't want to see me trying again and again. You can, of course, you should try lots of them. But so now I'm going to, oh dear, okay. And now I think I'm going to leave it on that line and pull it up, instead of having it on the top line, the line above, and pulling it down. The difference is when you put it on a line above and you pull it down, it kind of lumps these together, smushes them together. When you pull it when you put it on a top one and pull it down, it gives you more space, spreads them apart. When you go to a bottom line and you pull it up, it kind of smushes them together. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the line above again. And so you can see as I pull it down, it separates those letters more. Versus when I have it on a bottom line, I pull it up, it's squeezing them in more. So I want it to pull out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this kind of in between again. Okay, and now I'm going to say okay, and now I want this, I'm going to go ahead and get the last line. I want to make sure I don't have any space at the end. And that might not make a difference, but like I said, I don't want to end up with something where I have to do it over. And I think, again, I'm going to make this a little larger. Get my grab handle. I'm going to pull it up to right here. I want it on the top one so I can pull it down. And see how it's nicely separating those? If I have it on the bottom line and pull it up, it squeezes the top part together. So, take my sunshine away, and I have it almost perfect at the end. Now, I could go ahead, and if I was making this for a baby's room, I could go ahead and, put a name and a birth sampler type thing out here or whatever. But I'm just going to leave this like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of that. I'm going to make this a compound path. I'm going to release the compound path, get my sun and my shape out of there. I could leave the sun if this was what I was really going to use. I could leave that there, but I'm going to pull it out. And I could save this to put other things in there. If I had a shape or a size I liked and I wanted this to match it, I could just keep this, even just the center part. But I'm going to go ahead and concentrate on this. Now I'm going to turn this into a compound path. And now I have my circular text. And I can show you some color. Go ahead and make it red. And now I can make it larger to fit, appropriately. And I could have tightened up this U, and I could have had that all be closer together. I would have pulled it out more. I would have had it instead of close to this right here, instead of close to this little thing right here, I would have had it maybe start here and given it more room. Or I could also have made my circle larger from the beginning. I'm going to show you how to do that. So anyway, here I have a nice swirl, and to show you again, now that you know what the purpose is there, I'm going to go ahead and show you one more time this swirl part. So you get your image you want. I'm going to say I'm going to do one of those cups. Okay, so I have my cup. I'm going to make it larger because, again, I want the swirl to be pretty far apart. And if I'm going to want to really have my letters spread out, I can make it even larger. So now I'm going to take and get my sketch paddle, line effects of the sketch paddle. I'm going to get the swirl, and see how many there are. Even if I pull this out, see how many there are, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. And if you watch my previous video, you'll see how all of these work together and separately. So now I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to get my swirl. I'm going to make it as big as possible. And I'm going to decide now, do I think that's enough room there? Because, again, I just get more swirls as I pull it out. I am going to go ahead and release effects. I'm going to pull this out. Now, I'm just going to leave this, of course, but if I really didn't want this in here and I didn't want any text to slide on it, I could take my eraser or my knife and get rid of a little bit of that. But I'm just going to go ahead on my own and just know where I want to end that. Another thing I could do at this point is I could release the compound path, get rid of my outside edge, go back and make this a compound path, or not. I could actually just, let's see, is it gonna, no, I could actually just at this point use this, and this is going to go to here and end. Now if I did want it to go on, it will, but for my text, I would want it to stop right there. So I'm going to go ahead and type in, I think this time I'll type in something long. I could do Bible verses. I'm just going to type something in quick. And then I could have little stars out here. But so now if I do it this way, I'm just going to take, I'm going to magnify, or I'm going to increase the size, my little magnifier there, and now I'm just going to find my grabber, and you see how this is why I separate it, is because I wanted each line to be able to be controlled, but I can also do it this way. And you see I'm going to run out of, it's going to make it even larger than, it's going to go ahead and make it as large as I want it, because the whole thing is that it's wrapping around this shape here. So I think I'll go ahead and go in, and I might even at this point change the size of my text, pull it away. I'm going to highlight all the whole text. I'm going to get it a little smaller. Oops. And now I can do that again. You can do it right while it's on the thing. And now I can pull this in however tight that I can get it to still work. And I don't want it that tight because I don't want these letters to be that separated. And so there you can type something really long and get it on there. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you like how that goes on after you run out of the swirl space. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, that grabbed onto something else. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and then add it right here. So you can see how that grabs on. Put a space in there. I'm going to get it right on there. Okay, and so you can see how it ends off outward from that, but and it's just going to get larger and larger and wrap around because it's following this right here. But once it gets to where this here is larger than that, then it would continue up here and down here. But this is sure a lot of fun. I mean, look what you could do. You could do this on a cup. Any shape that you have. I have here a wine bottle. You could put it on that. And then this here, what I did to create this, let me go ahead and delete that. What I did to create this is I created a circle, and then I got a swirl inside, the swirl inside of it, and then I deleted the outward circle, so I only have the swirl. Then I put it together, made the circle smaller than the original one I had, and then now I would just weld that. That way, if I'm doing a circle of something, I know, like, okay, that's as far as it can go, and I don't want it to go past that spot. That way you can just kind of control how large or how small this gets. But it's sure a lot of fun, and it's nice how it just wraps around, and then afterward you get rid of your, like right here, once I go in, and once I get my, I'm going to make my compound path. Now I'm going to release the compound path. I'm going to get rid of my swirl there. Put my cup back so I can kind of see how that's going to fit. And I would make sure that the cup's the right size. Scale this down to the size that will fit. And now I know, okay, that's how much, the size I want it. And, or even if you were making a card for someone, if you were making a card for a coffee lover, you could make their card, and then you could, you could cut this out, card shape, have this little swirl in the center, and let me give that a color. Go ahead and give it a line color too. And that's what you would have. And that you can see how that all works. And I love it. I love it because you can just do a swirl. Circular, I could have brought that in more tighter like this one. And, anything that you want to have for a pattern. Now, if I were doing the cup, one of the things about having it going on out and not having just, why you would want the shape of the outer edge is that you can use those other lines and completely fill this. You could just get a swirl from just a circle and use just that center part. But if you want those, like for right here, the reason I use the shape for the swirl, because I can get that swirl from just using a circle, is because if I want to use those outer bands and continue something on, then I have them. And I don't have to try to create them later. So, like for instance, for this sun here, if I wanted to have the sun, and then I wanted this swirl in the center, but I wanted these outer bands for something, I already have that. So I have my swirl in the center, and now I can use this, or it could go on to those, like when I was doing the You Are My Sunshine. So I could do the text all the way to the end, and then I could go out here and do text on these lines just as well. So anyway, this is a lot of fun. I hope you try it. I hope you find some interesting things to use them for. Thank you for watching. And please go to the Nearby Artisans website and be listed, because you could make decals like this and sell them.